Hi everyone, welcome to Lola's Frugal Life. This is episode number 271, and today we're going to be talking about if you are making time for fun in your schedule. So please stick around for a few quick words from our sponsor and we'll get right into the show. So today I wanted you to consider the question, if you are making time for fun in your schedule. Have you ever had a day off where you imagined it was going to be this really great day because you had no plans? And then instead of doing something purposeful, maybe you just kind of wandered around a little bit, doing a little bit of this and a little bit of that throughout the day. And then at the end of the day, you feel kind of disappointed about how your day went. This sometimes happens if we just kind of let the time go by without planning what we want to do with our time. And planning out time does not only have to be for something productive. You can plan to watch movies all day if you want. It's more about being intentional with how your time will be spent. Because when we're not intentional with what we want to do with our time, we often end up having those days where we just kind of do a bunch of random little things and just let the time drift away. And before we know it, the day is over. And this amazing day that we thought we were going to have is kind of like, oh, what did we even do today? You just kind of, wiped off a counter or put away this little thing, or, we just can kind of just go through the day without really considering what we would like to do. And then before we know it, it's over. And that especially happens on days where we don't really have a specific plan, because I think we feel like we have so much time that we don't really need to plan for anything, because we could probably just do whatever we want. And then, the day is just kind of over before we know it. And just like we put productive things on our schedule, it's important to make sure we put fun things on our schedule, because even those days where we have time for fun, they can just kind of be used up with other little random things, and where we could have maybe been doing something that we really enjoy. So do you ever really think about how much fun you can have planning for something fun to do? So it's not only just doing the fun thing, but it's even the planning part, just thinking like, oh, it would be so great if we could do this Thursday night, or if we can go to this place on the weekend. There's really a lot of fun in planning and having something to look forward to that creates more happiness in your life. So, maybe you're having a bad day at work, but you have something that you're really looking forward to that evening. Just even thinking about what you have planned can take away some of that stress you might be feeling during the day. It's always really nice to have something to look forward to and get excited about. And it does not need to be a big vacation. It can be something as simple as, tonight I'm going to pick up a really fancy coffee and I'm going to sit down with this book that I'm reading. It can be maybe preparing a special meal or like a special dessert that you wanted to try and bake. It can really be anything. It's really just having something that you're going to look forward to, and looking forward to that time is often just as nice as when you're actually doing whatever it is that you plan for that time. It's nice to always have something to be looking forward to. It can really impact your happiness in whatever you're doing during the day. So, we shoulds. I wanted to talk about we shoulds, because we should usually doesn't lead to anything actually happening. With good intentions, we often say we should. We should get together one day. We should have a family game night this week. We should check out that new restaurant. We should go axe throwing. That's kind of random, but it's one of my we shoulds that my kids have been talking about. And how often do we say we should and then it never happens? So it's not that we don't really mean that we do want to do those things. We really do. But they just often don't happen because we don't put them on our schedule. We all lead really busy lives, and there's always something else that can take up our time. When we say we should do something that would be fun in our lives, we really should make our best effort to put it on the calendar and actually plan to do it, because that's usually when there's a much better likelihood of it actually happening. I'd like to take a moment to talk about the sponsor of today's podcast, Ana Luisa. That's ANALUISA. I recently got 2 new pairs of earrings from Ana Luisa that I really love. One of my favorites is the Celeste Huggy Hoop earrings. They're a really cute pair of mismatched earrings. One of them's a moon and one of them's a star. And I really loved them when I saw them online, but when they arrived, I found that they were even prettier in person. Ana Luisa creates high-quality jewelry pieces at very affordable prices. Their packaging and products are carbon neutral, so they have no negative impact on the environment. I was surprised by how unique and elegant their jewelry was while being really fun at the same time. They have jewelry starting at prices as low as $39. So if you're looking to treat yourself, a friend, or family member, be sure to check out their jewelry at shop.analuisa.com/Lola. That's shop.analuisa.com/Lola. Get yourself or your loved ones the perfect gift with up to 40% off by using my link, which can be found in the show notes. The thing is that we often think that we don't have time to fit things in that are just for fun, and it can especially feel this way during very busy times of life. Some times of life are just naturally super busy, especially if you have kids and they're in different activities, and even if they're not in many activities individually, if you have multiple kids and they all have different things to do at different times, you might truly be in a really busy time of life with limited time. So maybe you might not have time to do a day trip each weekend, but maybe you can plan a day trip once a month or once every other month. Or maybe you don't have time to play a game of Monopoly with the family, but maybe you can play a quick round of Uno. There's just because you don't have large amount of times to use doesn't mean that you can't find any time. When we make it a priority to find time for something, we can often find the time in our schedule. Even if it's less time than we would like to have, there's usually some extra time that we can spare to do something that we would really like to do, that we want to make a priority in our life. One way to really help get these fun things to happen, which is the whole reason for this episode, is to consider scheduling fun things on your calendar. If you had a doctor's appointment, you would make sure that you put it on your calendar to make sure you didn't miss it. So why not do the same thing for fun activities? Of course, if we had a major vacation planned out, we would put it on our calendar. We'd want to make sure that nobody planned anything during that week, and we all put in our time off from work or whatever else needed to happen to make that happen. We would make sure we scheduled for the pets to be taken care of, or whatever needed to happen for that vacation to happen. Once it was on our calendar, we would work around that. So why not do the same thing with smaller fun activities? We don't always think about blocking out Tuesday night to play a board game with the family, or blocking out a Saturday to go to the park, or whatever it is. We might think about it, but without putting it on our schedule as an actual commitment, the time can often just get away from us. Maybe we forget that we had wanted to do a game night on Tuesday night. Putting something on the calendar just makes it more of a priority. And then it also takes that time slot away so that something else doesn't come along to fill it in. And I have a perfect example of this. One of my daughters really wanted to go to IKEA, and we had never been there before. If you're not familiar with IKEA, I think most people are, but if you're not, it's just like this big furniture store, and then they have like some home things like rugs and curtains and whatever, things like that. And one of my daughters really wanted to go, and the closest one to us is about an hour away, so it wasn't like we could just like drop in one day. And plus it's an enormous store, and it takes a pretty long time to walk through. And you kind of just keep walking in one direction. At least the one by us is that way. I've never been to any others except for this one, and it was just the one visit recently. But you kind of have to just keep walking through. I guess there's probably somewhere you can get out. But anyway, it takes time. So I had put it on my calendar because she kept asking me, when could we go? And it was always maybe next weekend, maybe during the holidays. And then the holidays were too busy. And then it was maybe next weekend again. So I felt really bad that I kind of kept putting it off. And so what I did is I noticed that the one, I forget if it was Saturday or Sunday, but either way, it doesn't matter. The one weekend day, none of us were working. My daughters work part-time jobs, and neither one of them was scheduled to work. So I blocked out the calendar, and it just said IKEA. So that morning, I got a text from my farrier, who, if you're not familiar, a farrier is someone who trims horses' hooves and does shoes if they need them. Well, my one horse was behind a week on her getting her hooves done because my farrier had COVID, so he couldn't come out. So he texted me and said, hey, I can come out today. These are the times I can come. Do any of these work for you? So getting her hooves done was a really big priority for me too, because she was a week past due and it was really important to get done. But because I had IKEA on the calendar and we were planning to go in the afternoon, when I picked a time with him, I made sure the time that I picked still allowed us to go to IKEA, and I still made sure that I prioritized going to IKEA. So I said to my daughters, okay, I have to have this appointment at 12:30. I should be back no later than 2, and as soon as I get home, be ready to go, and then we'll go. And we did. And it wasn't only that it was on my calendar and that I picked an appropriate time, it was also that I had told them we were going, it was on the calendar, it was like a definite thing. It wasn't like, oh, maybe we'll go. It's like, no, we're going. So I had to figure out, okay, how can I fit this appointment around still making sure we do that? And had I not committed to it and told them that we were definitely going to go, I probably would have just been like, oh, well, I have this appointment now and I really need to take care of this, so we'll do that another day. But there was something about it more that, we spoke about it, we said we were going today, that it was just like, no, yes, this other thing came up, but we're still going. So having it on your calendar can really make a big difference. And we had a fun day. We walked through the store, they took pictures of things they liked, and it would have definitely been much easier to just say, oh, well, this other thing came up today, so we're not doing that anymore. We'll do it another day. But just having it on the calendar and talking about it, it really made a big difference, and it kind of kept us committed to doing it. So another thing I wanted to talk about just real quick, because my one daughter, every time I mention to my kids, especially my one daughter, that I want to plan a night to do something fun, they think it's a terrible idea. Not that they don't want to do fun things, they do. But I guess they kind of take it as if, kind of like if you were trying to force someone to smile when they're not happy, like it's kind of like fake to plan fun and not just kind of let it happen naturally. But the problem is that in reality, we're all really busy, and there's always competing priorities. And when we don't make things that are fun a priority, they often just don't happen. So I completely disagree that planning for fun is not fun. I think it is fun to plan for fun. And it's not like you need to be rigid about fun that's planned on your schedule. If you plan for a game night and the family wants to head over to a local park because it's a beautiful night out, that's fine. Or if you had a really bad or tiring day and you just don't feel up to doing whatever activity you planned for, that's fine too. Planning for fun in your schedule is not about forcing fun, which is how I think my daughter interprets it, why she thinks it's a terrible idea. Planning for fun is just about making a priority so that you don't let the time slip away without doing these little things that you enjoy. And if you can't do it today, then maybe plan on doing it tomorrow. Make sure you put it on the calendar tomorrow so that you don't end up running an errand or making another appointment. But it's kind of like if you had a doctor's appointment that needed to get rescheduled, you would actually reschedule it. You wouldn't just say, oh, well, we didn't get to that, and then it just falls off the calendar and you never think of it again. It's kind of just making sure that if you were committed to going or doing something, that you move it to another day if you don't end up wanting to or being able to do it the day you had originally planned. And try to be specific with your plans, because when you're specific with something that you want to do, it can make it more likely to happen. So say instead of saying, maybe we should just go to a park this weekend, pick the park and pick the time. Again, you don't need to be rigid and make sure that you arrive at the park at exactly 10 a.m. But if you plan to go to the park around 10 a.m., it will prompt you to get yourself and anyone else who might be coming with you to start getting ready to go. When you say, we're going to a specific park this weekend, it feels more concrete than we should just go to a park this weekend. So when you name like the actual activity, the date, and approximate time that you're going to go, it makes it more of a commitment. And then everyone's kind of aware that we're doing this, or even if it's just you, like you have in your mind that that's what I'm doing on Saturday, not like, oh, maybe I should go do that on Saturday. It's kind of like, I'm going to this park at this time on this day, and it's much more likely to happen than if you just do one of those, oh, maybe I should, and then, you get involved in cleaning out a closet or something instead. It's more of a commitment when you kind of name it and be specific. And if you feel like you're just really struggling to find time in your schedule to do things that you enjoy, just try and start small. Do you get a break at work where you can maybe go for a walk and listen to some good music? Or maybe you can read a book for a few minutes during your lunch each day. If you like crafting, is there something maybe you could work on for maybe 10 to 15 minutes a day? just really try to see if you can find small things that you can do to squeeze into your day until you're able to find time for other things. I think once you kind of start to see that you can do things in these little bits of time, sometimes it kind of lets you see your schedule a little bit better to see where you might be able to squeeze some other things in that maybe you didn't think you could. It's like when you start squeezing in some fun here and there, it's going to motivate you to figure out where you can get a little bit more space to get those other things in that you want to do. And even if it's like weeks out, instead of just kind of saying like, oh, well, I don't have a free day until 3 weeks from now, and then when that day comes, you just don't do anything with it because you didn't plan for it. Plan for 3 weeks from now to do something that you want to do. It doesn't have to be immediate. It's more about just getting it on the calendar when you can. So that's all I have to say about planning for fun in your schedule. But I hope this episode was helpful to you and motivated you in some way to get some more fun things on your schedule. So don't forget, you can email me with any questions or suggestions at lolasfrugallife@gmail.com. You can follow me on Instagram and Facebook at lolasfrugallife. You can find blog posts for each episode on my website at lolasfrugallife.com. And if you enjoy the show, please make sure to subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you listen from. And I would love it if you would screenshot the show and tag me on Instagram so I could see you're listening. Also, if you could take a couple of seconds to rate and review the podcast, that would be really helpful to me. That is what helps the show grow its audience. Also, don't forget to check out today's sponsor at shop.analuisa.com/Lola. And if you're interested, there is a link in the show notes to financially support the podcast. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope you have a really awesome day.